on. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me bring this up for you. Hold on.
He kind of looks like somebody that would be in that cartoon show Bob's Burgers. You ever seen that?
Yeah. All right. So you got this is a Joe Rogan podcast. So you know it's like 3 hours long. We are definitely not going to go through the whole 3 hours. Okay. And we're going to listen to this piece.
This is the administration where Trump was famously kicked off of Twitter. That was a huge issue. Like after January 6th, like they removed at the time, the sitting president.
I mean, he was talking a lot of shit though at that point.
Removed that person from social media because you
saying.
decided that he incited a riot. So for him, without free speech, without people, without podcasts, without social media, they probably wouldn't have had a chance because the mainstream narrative, other than Fox News, was so clearly against him. The majority of the television entities and print entities were against him, the majority of them. So if without social media, without podcast, they don't stand a chance. So they're uniquely aware of the importance of giving people their voice, free speech. But you do have to be careful about misinformation, and you do have to be careful about just outright lies and propaganda complaints, or propaganda campaigns, rather. And how do you differentiate?
Well, I think there are a couple of different things here. One is, this is something where I think X and Twitter just
isn't it the same outfit?
On
I swear to God.
We took
same
the critique
shirt.
around fact-checking, around misinformation. We put in place this fact-checking program, which basically empowered these third-party fact-checkers. They could mark stuff false, and then we would downrank it in the algorithm. I think what Twitter and X have done with community notes, I think it's just a better program. Rather than having a small number of fact checkers, you get the whole community to weigh in. When people usually disagree on something, tend to agree on how they're voting on a note, that's a good sign to the community that there's actually like a broad consensus on this, and then you show it. And you're showing more information, not less, right? So you're not using the fact check as a signal to show less. You're using the community note to provide real context and show additional information. So I think that that's better. For when you're talking about like nation states or people interfering, a lot of that stuff is best rooted out at the level of kind of accounts doing phony things. So you get like, whether it's like China or Russia or Iran or like one of these countries, they'll set up these networks of fake accounts and bots, and they coordinate and they post on each other's stuff to make it seem like it's authentic and kind of convince people it's like, wow, a bunch of people must think this or something. And the way that you identify that is you build AI systems that can basically detect that those accounts are not behaving the way that a human would. And when we find that there's like some bot that's operating an account.
How do you differentiate? How do you figure that out?
It just, I mean, there are some things that a person just would never do, right? So
the AI
have
shit.
you met Lex Friedman?
Yes.
No, right?
Yeah.
He might not be.
Well, but is he going to take?
pass your
But is he
Turing
going to take?
test.
Yeah, no, is he going to take? Is he going to make a million actions in a minute? It's like
We all know Zuckerberg's an alien
Well, I think
too.
it's
He's talking about his alien friend.
These guys are pretty sophisticated, and it's an adversarial space. So, so we find some technique, and then they basically kind of update their techniques. But we have a team of it's effectively like intelligence, counterintelligence folks, counterterrorism folks, AI folks who are
Did he
building
say the
systems to
CIA is
identify,
part of his system?
what are these accounts
Yes.
that are just not behaving the way that
I don't
people
think he
would
was
and how they
supposed to say
interact.
that.
And then sometimes you trace it down, and sometimes you get some tips.
No,
from
he
different
said counterintelligence
agencies, and
folks.
then you
Yeah,
piece
that's
together over
all
time. It's not
CIA
this network of
people.
Is
Pause
actually
it.
some.
Hold on a second.
I don't want to talk over
That's
him.
against our policy.
Yeah, let's not talk over it. But he said there's
Just because you're counterintelligence doesn't mean you're central. You're CIA basically. You can do. Somebody could be working for your company and be doing security. It doesn't have to be because that. Yeah, they would have probably shut that out. I don't think that would have gone.
Nah, I mean, but the thing is, he's already admitted that the president's group was influencing. I think in this
I'm
clip,
not saying that that three-letter doesn't have a foothold in what's going on here. I'm saying he didn't outright say that.
Okay.
It's okay to say counterintelligence.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Just like it's okay to say Cybertruck. Okay.
But only if you pronounce it Cybertruck.
Right.
You have to say Cybertruck.
But let me let him continue for a minute because I wanted him to get into the part where he was talking about the Biden administration calling his folks and cussing them out and all that. That was pretty funny. So,
Right.
Let me just take
I mean, it wasn't funny, but you know.
But
But how are you sure? Like, is there a 100% certainty
Nope.
that you are definitely getting a group of people that are bad actors?
Nope.
Or is it just people that have unpopular opinions?
no, I don't think it's that for this. I think
But what I'm saying is, how
Yeah.
do you
Gotcha,
determine?
bitch.
Yeah, how do you? At what percentage of accuracy are you determining it? Do you ever accidentally think that people that
Yeah.
are going to get moderated are actually just real people?
Yes, I think for the specific problem around these like large coordinated groups doing kind of like election interference or something, it's a large enough group. We have like a bunch of people analyzing it. It's like they study it for a while. I think we're probably pretty accurate on that. But I actually think one of the bigger issues that we have in our moderation system is this precision issue that you're talking about. And that is actually, of all the things that we announced this week, in terms of how we're going to update the content policies, changing the content filters to have to require higher confidence and precision is actually going to be the thing that reduces the vast majority of the censorship mistakes that we make. Right? Removing the fact checkers and replacing them with community notes, I think it's a good step forward. Like a very small % of content is fact checked in the first place. So is that going to make the hugest difference? I'm not sure. I think it'll be a positive step though. And we like opened up some content policies. So some stuff that was restricted before we opened up. Okay, that's good. It'll mean that some set of things that might have been censored before are not. But by far the biggest set of issues we have, and you and I have talked about a bunch of issues like this over the years, is like, it's just, okay, you have some classifier it's trying to find, say, like drug content, right? People decide, okay, it's like the opioid epidemic is a big deal. We need to do a better job of cracking down on drugs and drug sales, right? I don't want people dealing drugs on our networks. So we build a bunch of systems that
Hunter
basically go out and try
Biden
to
be
automate
doing
finding
drugs on
people
the networks.
who are
I
who
see
dealing
you
with
saying.
drugs. And then you basically have this question, which is how precise do you want to set the classifier? So do you want to make it so that the system needs to be 99% sure that someone is dealing drugs before taking them down?
So what's it at
Do you
now?
want it to be 90%
Just tell us,
confident,
man.
80% confident? And then those correspond to amounts of, I guess the statistics term would be recall. What % of the bad stuff are you finding? So if you require 99% confidence, then maybe you only actually end up taking down 20% of the bad content. Whereas if you reduce it and you say, okay, we're only going to require 90% confidence, now maybe you can take down 60% of the bad content.
Take down my
But let's say you
stuff
say, no, we really
all
need to
the
find
time.
everyone who's doing this bad thing. And it doesn't need to be as severe as dealing drugs. It could just be, it could be any kind of content of any
anything,
category of harmful
anything.
content. You start getting to some of these classifiers might have 80, 85% precision in order to get 90% of the bad stuff down. But the problem is if you're at 90% precision, that means 1 out of 10 things that the classifier takes down is not actually problematic. And if you filter, if you kind of multiply that across the billions of people who use our services every day,
Here we go.
that is millions and millions of posts that are basically being taken down that are innocent. And upon review, we're going to look at and be like, this is ridiculous that this thing got taken down, which I mean, I think you've had that experience and we've talked about this for a bunch
my
of stuff.
YouTube, like
And,
my YouTube
so it
stuff.
really just comes down to
Like
this
your
question of where do
YouTube
you want to set
stuff.
the classifiers. So one of the things that we're going to do is basically set them to be require more confidence, which is this trade-off. It's going to mean that we will maybe take down a smaller amount of the harmful content, but it will also mean that we'll dramatically reduce the amount of people whose accounts we're taking off for a mistake.
All right, so I'm going to pause it right there. So it sounds good on the surface, what he's saying. He's saying that the regulations were a little bit too strict and it was taking down stuff that didn't need to be taken down. But that's not even all of my problem. It's not just about taking things down. It's about suppressing them as well. Because taking it down, it's gone. But then there's also we won't push it out, which is a whole nother thing. If I put up a post and I got 5,000 friends on my Facebook and only 3 of them get to see it, really, that doesn't make sense to me. But that's because the algorithm has decided to not push that out to whatever other people are there. And I don't know why it does that. He doesn't really address that.
I have 4,900 people on my Facebook, right? When I go to my wall, I see out of like 50 swipes, I see 4 of my friends and the rest advertisements now.
Yeah.
So that's how I believe they're just slowly throttling everybody. Like,
yeah. And then I'm gonna have to agree with that because I noticed the same thing. I mean, I've got a lot of friends on my Facebook. I mean, a lot, like 8,000 or something crazy on there, right? But I don't see much of anything. I see a couple of folks that I like really mess with over the years. So I see a couple of those, like people that I frequently interact with. But I'm the type where I'm looking for content, so I'm looking for new stuff. So I don't need a bunch of advertisements for Restream and Opus Clip and all this other shit that I'm not really looking for right now. I already have my software. So if I need something else, I'll go search for it then. But I don't like the advertisements everywhere. And you can't get out of that. with Facebook. You're going to get the ads because that's how they pay for it.
I wonder, they don't have a paid option for Facebook?
I believe your business page can do that. Like you set up a business page and have it different, but the regular pages, no.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and they just now got to the point where they're able to do like memorial pages on Facebook. Like if somebody passes away, you can actually set up a memorial page for them, and Facebook will mention that they are gone, or it'll have their like literal, their life and death date on there and everything. So that's
This
actually
dude's
pretty cool.
scared, yo.
He's scared of something.
He's scared of the president-elect, man, because all of these social media gurus, giants, they all just thought after he was out of that office last time, he would go away.
Right.
And they did suppress him. They didn't treat him very American, I'll tell you that much.
True.
And now that he's back, and they're like, wait a minute, TikTok is a god, and they're getting ready to ban TikTok. What's going to protect us?
Right. Yeah,
They scared.
TikTok is definitely getting ready to be a done deal. And then what's going to happen after that? If somebody
You
happens
think it
to
will?
have it,
You don't think somebody, if they'll fix it? Because I feel like somebody American will just end up buying it.
right? It'll probably be Zuckerberg or somebody.
And then
Or
it'll be
Elon.
worse.
Oh God, I hope Elon doesn't buy it. I can't. I
But
can't
you know
even
what?
imagine that.
The Facebook adult groups, because somebody sent me an ad to one of those the other day, and I was like, is this real again? There was a whole ass cheek hanging out in one of them groups.
So that's it.
You say that's it,
Yeah.
but when's the last time you seen that in one of them groups? Like the whole side and kind of back view up on a counter. Like it was a lot more than what you. Well, now Instagram is crazy, but it's way more than you'll see on Facebook. Facebook is.
True.
You have a sweater that looks like it's got a nipple on it. You're out of there.
Right. So we'll see what Zuckerberg and his team do going forward, but so far, like I said, I'm looking forward to what they're gonna do, but it could turn into a fucking cesspool, and I don't really want that either. Okay, but I don't know, man.
Evil only goes on for so long in the world.
It's true.
If you understand history, there's always some sort of loving period or renaissance or something. So we might just be stuck in the thick of it right now. Pause. Right. But it can't be all bad just forever. Like something these things go in cycles. Even being mean gets old after a while. Like
right. Okay.
On,
and that's the thing about it is. Facebook has changed. Like my Facebook, there's still ass all over it. But it's like people will post a picture that's an ass picture in a story, and then it'll be like connected to crypto or some goofy shit like that. So it's a little different now. It's all clickbait at this point. It's not really like anybody selling ass on Facebook.
Yeah, those stories up top are off the chain.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah, you can see some crazy stuff in the stories. So you stay away from the stories.
Okay. AI has really mastered the art of creating women over 60 with voluptuous bodies. The hands don't look too good,
right?
But the bodies,
figured it out, and that's what AI is to do. That's what AI is to do. So I'm gonna take Zuckerberg off the screen here because I have to have a different conversation that I'm probably gonna get into a little bit of trouble over. Okay.